So in this video, I'm going to try to give an analogy that might help explain why it's so important for my family to work on me, on the problem that they created so I cannot die or get injured anymore from what they have done. Now, what they have done is my mother continued to try to cover up her mistake by misinforming doctors, moving me around the country, slipping me more and more pills, destroying my body, insides, outside, also trying to give me confusing false information that's backwards. There's just to fuck with my head, just really fucked up shit. Now, this wasn't my biological mother. This is a mother that during foster care slipped me some pills so she could change the TV channel, and then my whole nervous system got fried. And then when it was apparent that I lost my vision when this overdose happened, when it became apparent that something was seriously wrong, my mother got on the phone with the emergency people. They told her to bring me to the hospital. My mother said, "They don't know what they're talking about," and hung up the phone, and then sat back down as I passed out and my breathing became shallow. When I woke up, my nervous system was different for life. Now that I mentioned this at the doctor's several times, and then my mother doubled down on hiding her crimes and mistakes. She even moved me to Texas. My dad got a job interview. My father did not want to take it. He goes, "Why would I want to move to Texas? Fuck no." But then my mother wanted to put it up as a vote, and she convinced me to go along with her vote yes, and so we moved to Texas, avoiding any responsibility of the crimes my mother was committing. She continued to drug me, slip me pills, fuck with my head, do these things over and over. But she was also misinforming doctors and giving fake fantasy stories to doctors that would end up with me on drugs and with permanent disabilities written down on my medical file, making it harder for doctors to see my physical illness because we now have a bunch of fake illnesses my mother is making up, as well as then they try to get Social Security because now they've made up a bunch of stories about fake illnesses. For instance, bipolar, depression, and my a lot of those type of conditions. My mother would schizophrenic behaviors, schizophrenia. I don't know why I just said that wrong. I say it perfectly all the time. It's just my jaw and my stutter's bad today. Anyways, I have trouble with that one in general too. Recently, since my last head injury, I used to be able to say it fine, but then during my last head injury, that word became difficult. That's the thing. When I have seizures and head injuries, it just things that I can do normally, I no longer can do suddenly right after the head injury. It's really fucked up shit. And it continues because my mother and father, I want this to continue. If I go to the emergency room today, let's say I take a walk and I have a seizure today, or let's say I get my GI looked at today, or let's say my urine turns black like it did 3 months ago, or let's say there's blood in my testicles like what happened 6 months ago or a year or whenever that was, or let's say I have a seizure and a car runs over my arm. Most of the time, it's impossible for me to get to the emergency room. Then, when I get to the emergency room, the doctors just release me on site, so I have to make multiple visits. On top of that, before the doctors have even seen me, spoke with me, they're already weaponized by false information on my medical file. So my medical file is all up, down, side to side. None of it's accurate. So the doctors can't give any accurate information. So before they even walk in the room and meet with me, they're already thinking psychiatry. But then when they see me and they say, "Well, do you think you need a psychiatrist?" I go, "Sure, sure. But you want to look at why I'm here first." I checked myself in because I have a pain 2 inches to the left of my belly button, and I found blood or something that looks like blood in my testicles. I actually didn't say blood. I just said they look swollen with a bunch of black and blue, almost like somebody kicked it. But they weren't kicked. I didn't sit on them. Nothing happened. There's no pain. It just all of a sudden it's blood color all in them. So I go to the doctors, and the first thing they're thinking is psychiatry. But then I say, "You want to take a look first?" Then he goes, "Oh, no, no, they'll send you right back here. No, no, no. This is go to your primary care and get a referral for a GI specialist or a urologist. Yeah, don't go to psychiatry for this. Now that we see it, oh, God, no, no, no. Yeah, they'll send you right back here." Well, why the sudden change in my doctors? Because they've been weaponized. I mean, you can't let your wife make up stories at the doctors about your child for 15 years straight and expect there not to be consequences for your child when he grows up. See, my mother knew there would be consequences. She expected it on purpose. But see, my father was in La La Land in the corner buying all the bullshit that she could feed him. I mean, there was so much bullshit flying with her into his mouth, and he ate it all up like it was breakfast. My father's still eating it up. She's dead today. She killed herself with drug and alcohol right in front of her. I mean, right in front of him. And he ate up all the bullshit then too. Oh, my wife is drinking with liver failure in the living room. Oh, that's no big deal. Oh, my wife is taking my son's Vicodin and then she says it's only one time. Well, it's the son's fault. Oh, my wife is going through liver failure and my son continuously says she's drinking too much and she's taking pills. Well, that doesn't mean anything. So that's my father right there, eating up bullshit for breakfast on purpose, and he's still in denial today. It's called denialism. My father loves denialism. That's his way out. That's the way that he justifies it. Then she can be an angel. He's perfect, and I'm just some shithell double child who has shit all over his head all the time. And you can call me a shithead all you want. My father will smile and he'll laugh with you. If you try to call me names or if you make fun of me or if you call me a shithead, my dad will be right there nodding his head going, uh-huh, oh yes, he's the biggest shithead. Yeah, yeah, that's right. He's the biggest shit. I wasn't there to see it, but I'm sure you're right. He's the biggest shithead. Oh yeah, yeah, you too? You said you saw something? Oh, my son is responsible for your lawn being shitty? Oh, yes, yes, I'm sure it is. Oh, and my son's responsible for you being in a wheelchair? Oh, I bet he is. Oh, and your son's disabled? Oh, yeah, and you say that my son is disabled too in the same way? Oh, I bet you're right. Oh, and you say my son's a shithead too? Oh, yes, you're right. And he'll jump on board each person's story with no evidence. Meanwhile, his own son comes and says he has a problem that's killing him, and he'll go, no, 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 you're just a shithead. So this system at my doctor's continues to harm me today. I have a business to run, but why am I not there right now running it? Because they saw my disability. Everybody's seen it for 25 years. They see it. Teachers have seen it. They've called me in the hallway about my disability. They even called home to my mother and father. They put me in physical therapy, speech therapy. The people in Texas saw it when I was wearing a jacket and shaking because of the wind being a little chilly while everybody else says it's hot. In New Mexico, they saw it when I was behind a tree unconscious with a little bump on my head and they had to carry me in, put a blanket and coffee, and they thought it was just from the cold. Well, why was I unconscious so quickly? All the kids were out there when I was out there. None of them went unconscious but me. It wasn't like I froze to death. I mean, I went right out like a light as soon as I started shaking. So these things continued. Well, what happened when I tried to walk down the street on a sidewalk? I had a full blown epileptic seizure. According to the doctors at the hospital, I had an epileptic seizure, and it was probably due to my medicine, they said. But now that we know what it is, we know it's not medicine side effects. We've heard that also. We've heard that from the ticks. Well, I'm not on that medicine. It's still happening. If it was caused by the medicine, then why does it happen for 25 years, no matter what medicine I take, even if I'm on no medicine? Even if I'm on no medicine, I still have falls, go unconscious, and wake up bloody on the ground. We still have these incidents far apart, and every day of my life, I shake and I feel what causes them. Okay, so if we have this going on, why have doctors not treated me? Because my mother created a machine where doctors have only been designed to malpractice me. They've only been given pounds and pounds of misinformation that will cause them not to be able to diagnose or treat my epilepsy. And it's a very weird form. It's not regular epilepsy. It's really just a neurological disorder that has a tendency to cause seizures when it's overdone. Like, for instance, if I have flashing lights in front of me, a weird loud noise like a car going by me, and it's cold, all those three stimuluses will cause my whole body to spasm, cramp. I'll shake to the ground. I'll be unable to move my arms and legs or speak. And then I'll go unconscious and wake up all bloody. And what happens when I'm unconscious is called a seizure. I think they called it grandma seizure, but I'm not 100% sure. I was just waking up from a head injury when he told me. And that was at Saints Memorial Hospital. Plus, they always chalk it up to drugs because that's what they have in my file. They got that I have homicidal tendencies, suicidal tendencies. I'm a drug addict. I'm bipolar. I'm ADHD. I got depression. My mother thinks I'm schizophrenic. They think I have attachment disorder. Meanwhile, this is what the attachment disorder is based upon. I brought a swimming medal I won in the orphanage with my last name from the orphanage to my mother because I just got adopted and I wanted my mother to see my accomplishments because I loved her so much. I was in my Lego box playing with my Legos. I saw the medal and I walk up to my mother going, "Look at the medal I won in the orphanage. Isn't it great?" And that's because I want my new mother to see my accomplishments. It's me opening up and showing attachment to my new mother. And what does my mother do? She snatches that medal from my hand. She calls me a liar. She says it must belong to an African American because he's athletic. Not only that, I must be lying because they don't got a pool in the orphanage. Well, they bring you to the YMCA for one. Oh, and then she sees my old last name on the back, and that means I have attachment disorder because I'm going around writing my old last name on stuff, she says. Then she brings, after I cry for 2 weeks, she brings me to the doctor. I'm crying in front of the doctor. She makes up all these stories. He has attachment disorder. We need to medicate him right away. He's writing his name on other kids' medals. He stole this medal, and I'm crying there. And the doctor goes, "Is this true?" And I go, "No, I won that medal in the orphanage. I won it. I won it." And then, of course, my mother goes, "Oh, no, 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 there's no pool in the orphanage. Don't believe him. He makes up fantasies. He's a liar. He also likes to make up fantasies about other kids' medals. See right here, he wrote his old last name on here. I saw him write his old last name on there, blah, blah, blah." My mother is a complete lying bitch, though. The only person that knows where that medal came from is me and the staff members at St. Anne's who brought us to the YMCA. That's it. The kids who live at St. Anne's Orphanage, the staff member who was about, she looked like 26 to 30, something around that range, female. I think she had brunette hair, but I actually can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was brunette. She's the only one who knows that, and she pulled out a Sharpie and wrote my initials on it because those were my initials. But see, my mother is having one of her mental breaks, and my father's not going to care one bit. He lets her continue doing this at the doctor's. Now that happened when I was in Westford at the age of 7ish. 7, something like that. 6 maybe. I am now 32 fucking years old. Do I care about all that stuff in my past? No. But I have a future. I have my own children to raise in the future. I got girlfriends with the children I want to adopt. I got my own life to live. I got my own job to return to. I got my own apartment to pay for. And if I can't get basic medical care because they are misinformed and they are all confused, and every time I'm brought to the emergency room unconscious, the doctors are just flipping me back out onto the street, no matter what state I live in, no matter what insurance I have, all because my medical records are just meant to harm me and confuse the doctors, preventing them from being able to really figure out what's going on with me. Because if the doctors figure out what's really going on with me, then they might have figured out that my mother was doing some horrible shit. But see, now my mother's dead. There's no reason for my family to go along with this. Now that we know what was going on, it's time to fix it. But see, they don't want to. And here's where the analogy comes in. My mother was building a lawnmower torture device. Just the craziest lawnmower you ever saw with spinning blades all over the place. Think of it that way. My mother was in her room and she came up with this great design for this lawnmower chopper. And then she took an adopted child, parked this lawnmower on top of this child, and this child's fingers and arms are getting cut up and bled up. And then she passed away. She died. She killed herself. She fell into her own lawnmower, shredded up, and she's gone. But her machine is still running. There's enough gasoline in there to last 20 years. And the little orphan child that she adopted is still tied up with his arm getting sliced up and the lawnmower getting closer and closer to his head. And now the family comes into the basement and sees this machine that their stepmother, that their wife, that their family member created. This machine And the son is going, please, please stop this. Please, you guys can pull this thing off of me. Untie me. Stop. My hands are tied behind my back. Please allow me to fix this, or you guys fix it. Stop this machine from cutting me up. Stop it. Stop it. Stop hurting me. Please stop hurting me. There goes my left arm. There goes my internal organs. Please, please stop this machine from hurting me. And you know what my family does? They go, maybe we should figure out who built the machine. Yeah, that's what we should do. Who built the machine? Patricia built it? Okay, well now we know Patricia built it. Now we got to figure out how to turn it off. Okay, so let's take our sweet ass time turning off the machine too. Now, first we're going to figure out who built the fucking machine. Oh, it was Patricia the whole time. She was misinforming the doctors. She tried to get the doctors to malpractice. She was the one who made up all the mental illnesses. She's the one who also slipped the kid the pills. She's also the one that destroyed his internal system, nervous system at a young age. She's the one that flipped over his brain with false information. She's the one who did these awful things to his internal organs, his spine, his nervous system, his body. She's the one that was slipping him pills illegally. She's the one who gave him extra Epicac as a punishment. She's the one who blew things out of proportion, causing doctors to get confused and malpractice the kid. She's the one who gave doctors false information, causing extra medications to be prescribed. She's the one that slapped the kid around and then caused him to have such a bad body that he can't even drive until he gets epilepsy medication. She's the one who cut off the epilepsy medication, causing more injuries, so that way no doctors can ever treat his real disability because of all the fake disability. She and the father are the ones who cut off Social Security and misuse Social Security for their own purposes. As they were trying to better their own purposes, he was missing out on things like rent in classes that he needed. As my father was paying his own rent with Social Security that was supposed to be used on my rent, I was missing out on classes I desperately needed for the future. Why was I missing out on those classes? Because they said that the only people that could take those classes are children who parents collected Social Security in their names and now had to pass it on to their children. These are people who are 19, 20, and they're now learning how to reapply for Social Security, deal with the Social Security Administration, get a lawyer to help them with Social Security, these type of skills, how to work out a budget with their Social Security, how to manage a certain amount of hours at work with Social Security. These are the classes I missed out on. Meanwhile, I have a disability that isn't being treated, and I have a bunch of made-up disabilities and a bunch of drugs being given to me that I don't need and I don't have. Like I don't have those disabilities. So my mother creates this machine that causes my body harm and still causing my body harm today. If I get an injury today and they bring me to the emergency room, I'll either be released with no treatment or I'll be malpracticed. The third way, actually treating me and getting me better, requires the doctors listening to me, the patient, because my medical records are useless to them. They'll only get weaponized if they go by my mother's or father's information. And while I was homeless, they have no good information because I was living in the woods, freezing to death while trying to treat myself with alcohol and opiates to try to stop the seizures. That was stupid of me, huh? So anyways, so that doesn't help them either. So we have no accurate. The medical history they need is from age 5 to 19, and they need it to be accurate. But guess what? They have nothing there. Well, from age 20 to 23, around there, we got me living in the woods. None of that's useful. From 24 all the way to 32, we got some useful information, but the doctors have not been taking any information from the patient. So again, useless. They still are basing everything off of medical history and they're confused. So we don't have any real accurate information other than from the patient right now and from some doctors who take the patient's information and then give a diagnosis based on the patient's information. Okay, so what is my family doing about this machine that my mother and father created that's causing my body and my life harm repeatedly? I can't go back to work until we get a diagnosis from a doctor, and I can't get a diagnosis from a doctor until this machine stops chopping me up. So how do we stop this machine from chopping me up? It's very simple. We just have my father turn it off. He goes over there and turns the off switch off. There's a name on there that goes, Henry, you can turn this off anytime you want. My mother put a button right there. All he has to do is walk over and hit the button. He has to work with me, be like, where's the button, Zach? It's right over there. Go get it. Work with me and we can turn this thing off. Then I don't have to lose more arms and legs and body parts from your wife's machine she built in the basement. If that's a good analogy for you, I hope it is. It's like my mother was building a crazy lawnmower. Then she parked this crazy lawnmower on my arm while putting the automatic drive on. Then, as it slowly chops up my left arm and comes closer and closer to my leg and my body, because my legs are spread, it cuts a little bit into my leg. It's getting closer to my leg. It got my arm. It's chopping me up on my left side. It got my whole left leg. It's getting to my fingertips. And this thing is set. But then my mother dies while this machine is chopping me up. So now she's gone. But my family comes downstairs and sees this lawnmower chopping me up. What's the first thing they do? They decide to figure out who built this crazy ass lawnmower. I don't know. Maybe Zach built it? No, no, no. Zach's getting chopped up by it. He couldn't have built it. Who would have turned it on? Oh, yeah, that's right. Zach couldn't have built it. Okay. So who the fuck built it? Oh, Patricia built it. No, no, Patricia wouldn't put that on Zach. Yeah, she would. Yeah. Oh, you think so, Tim? Yeah, yeah, she would. Oh, how about you, Seth? Yeah, yeah, she would do it. She would do it. Oh, okay. So Patricia built the fucking thing. Where is Patricia? She's dead. Oh, she died? Oh, okay. So now we know Patricia built this crazy ass machine, and we see Zach bleeding to death on the ground. Now, what do we do? Well, we should figure out how to turn it off. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't see it get built. Oh, well, and I'm screaming on the ground. I saw her turn it on. Just ask me. It's the button on the left. It's the button on the left. Please turn this thing on. And everybody's over in the corner like, I don't know. Maybe we stick a metal rod underneath? No, they'll fly the blade at my head. Maybe we should kick it. We should kick the lawnmower. No, we could catch our foot underneath. And so they're still arguing about how to turn it off. Meanwhile, I'm on the ground getting cut up more and more. And then the lawnmower hits my head and I'm dead. And then all they had to do was go up and hit the off switch, and if they didn't know where it was or what to do, they could have asked me. So that's an analogy for how my mother created a machine at the doctor's to malpractice me, get me harmed, and so that I'll have seizures and problems for the rest of my life. And then when I have a seizure on the side of the road, they scrape me off the cement after exposure gets me after the seizure because I have a seizure. I go unconscious. Then the cold sets in. They bring me to the hospital, whatever. Then the doctors just go, he must be crazy. That's what it is. We have no clue. What are we supposed to do with this medical history? We have a kid unconscious and we have a crazy medical history. What are we supposed to do? Turn him back out onto the street. Then they find me unconscious again and again and again. I call it the revolving door. Now, why am I in this revolving door with emergency rooms? Because my mother and father created a machine to make sure I would get harmed for the rest of my life until they turn the machine off. And right now, my mother died with the damn thing on, and my family wants to leave it on because they can avoid responsibility as long as they leave the machine running and keep on harming me. As long as nobody believes me and I continue to get harmed, they can avoid responsibility. And it's really affecting my mental health. I mean, it always has, but it's really at the point where I just want to fucking knock heads together.